Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another CGL Grand Finals match. It is Tiny, Shiny, and CB ready to kick off this stream with a bang. We have the GMPC Finals. These two rosters are ready to head this one off and see who will be crowned the champion.
Yeah, we got Ragnarok Odin going up against Kessoku Band, and I'm looking forward to this one. I dig the vibes of both of these teams. They're both phenomenal. To get this far in our, our PCGM tier, quite an accomplishment on its own. They definitely have the talent to back it up. If we want to have a quick look at the bracket here really quick, we can kind of see how they got here, because there's one little interesting tidbit that I want to bring up really quick, as we kind of speed through this just a little bit. They have kind of similar paths getting to this grand finals position here, but the difference is Ragnarok Odin had to do it from the losers bracket after dropping 0-3 to Bonkers in the first round, and then had to run it back successfully, mind you, in the losers finals there. So they made the comeback. They have the momentum on their side, but Kessoku Band has already proven that they can do anything Ragnarok Odin can do, but better and cleaner.
Yeah, they made her top run. They took the easy route there, CB, the easy path. to get to really just have a chance at taking that #1 spot. And, it is a smaller bracket, right? Only 4 teams to be here, but this is also the highest level of competition, or some of the highest levels you're going to see on the game of Overwatch right now. These teams have been practicing hard to get to this point, and let's go ahead and talk about those players that are within those teams themselves, starting off with Kessoku Band.
Yeah, we got Bouchy, the band leader, the team captain, so to speak, along with Kita and Rio heading up that DPS line. Nijka and Guitar Hero, the guitar and bass players for this squad here, looking to hit the high notes and take it on home for this band. Like I said, I really dig the vibes of this team. These are some very, very talented ladies, and I can't wait to see them take it home. But the competition might be a little bit stiff because we got Ragnarok Odin on the other side, and like I said, they've got momentum on their side.
They got momentum, they've got perseverance, and of course, they have got star power. Hey, you look at these 5 players out here, and this is like, all right, this is the team. They went down, right? They lost 3-0, immediately went to the loser's bracket. They didn't take no for an answer. They fought tooth and nail to get back to this point. I believe it was a 3-1 and a 3-2 just to return to this level. And I mean, they're not a bad team by any means. Look at this. They finished the season 7-1, respectively, only dropping 1 game, which is really, really impressive. And of course, these teams are going to have competed in several other areas as well. I mean, Ragnarok themselves just go ahead and sports a lovely top 40 open division finish amongst several other impressive qualifier results here. And CB, these are some of the best players that we're going to see come together in the scene of Tier 4 Overwatch, and there's quite a bit on the line just in this series.
100%. This is a grand finals. One thing I do kind of want to point out, by the way, is if you've seen Thor Ragnarok from the MCU, Odin does die in the beginning of that movie, but at least in this situation, it looks like he's come back for one final fight. So we'll have to see. If this alternate universe, if Odin actually does come back and stop Ragnarok from overtaking Asgard, but. We're going to start things off not at Asgard. We're going to kick things off where we kick off most of our playoff series, Lijiang Tower, the favorite control map. That's where we're going to start things off. As for where we go from there, it is a 1-to-4. Losers will pick the maps from here on out. So you can probably expect Kings Row, Rialto, Esperanza in that order, but maybe they'll get a little bit interesting here once we start to see what these squads cook with.
You know what? We're going to hope that it gets a little interesting. I mean, this is the grand finals after all, CB. It is meant to be as interesting. These guys, they are the top dogs in their division. And, hey, I mean, Lijiang Tower, yeah, it's not Asgard, but it's still a pretty darn cool map to be able to start on a variety of ways to really go about this one. And it highly depends on the submap. And, I think Lijiang Tower just gets almost a bad rep just because of how popular it is at this level, but I do think that this might just be my personal opinion, that it is one of the best to start out a series just because of the wide variety of compositions that we'll see on these several mini-maps.
Yeah, the one thing I talk about all the time is how Control Center will favor a brawl-heavy composition, Gardens will tend to favor more of a dive composition, and Night Market is a little bit more of that middle ground where you can run either comp in any sort of way. You can kind of mix and match to make things work, but again, if you're really, really good on a dive comp, if you're really, really good at one-tricking any specific comp, you can make it work on Lijiang Tower. Those are just what is favored on those maps, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those are insurmountable comps, that it's simply you play Rush and you win. It's, you play Rush, and if the other team plays dive better than you, you don't win because they're just a better team than you. And that's, that's just kind of how Lijiang Tower works. That's why people like to go to it to begin with, because they get to play whatever it is they've been scrimming, whatever it is they've been practicing. They get to show their stuff, and it's time to go to the map and for these two squads to show us everything they got. The stage has been set. It's time for the Grand Symphony. Kessoku Band versus Ragnarok Odin. Start things off on Garden.
good old classic gardens, one of the worst control points to have to push back onto, is the opinion of many, many players. But a very good spot to start off. You're talking about this variety of hero compositions. This is where Dive is kind of going to go. I love to see this at the chat right now. We're having fun, CB. We're having fun in a grand finals match, which, I mean, yes, of course, it's competitive. You're supposed to be ready to go, putting your best out there. But hey, if you're just going to chill and, you know what, you might as well enjoy it while you're here.
A couple quick things on the match chat there. First of all, shout out to Lottie, our observer. That caps lock went a little bit silly there. I forget who, because it's already scrolled past. Somebody asking, is Lifeweaver allowed? And Lottie in all caps responding, no! Which is about the urgency that I would respond to that question with. And secondly, even if Lifeweaver was allowed, why would you play him? He's just awful. Like, he doesn't do anything. He's not, like, don't get me wrong, he's for the gays, and I love that for him. Love it. But as far as, like, what he does in the game, he just doesn't really provide any utility, and his healing and damage numbers are both just too low to justify picking him. So, you know, as we didn't really get a good chance to see what these two squads want to come out here with, but even if Lifeweaver were allowed, I would like to think that that's not something that we would see.
I'd like to hope. I mean, I was kind of underwhelmed by the release of new hero. I mean, usually you'll go ahead and when you get these new heroes in, you'll like Joker Queen and Sojourn, for example. Those were meta-defining heroes that came out. I mean, Lifeweaver, I think maybe at the highest level it could be viable, but I mean, at this point it's clunky. It's not a lot of healing, not a lot of damage. Switching back and forth can really be a pain. It's not like Moira. You have to do switching between weapons. Yeah, it's a whole another thing. But no, we're not going to worry about that at all today. We'll be within our good old classic heroes that have not been released in Season 4. I do believe we did get a little bit of a peek of what they were running. I saw Pharah on the board, which I'm quite intrigued by. I don't get to see too much Pharah. I mean, in console, yeah, you'll see a bunch of Pharah, but PC, not as much. I mean, there is the joke that goes around that console players can't look up. Yes, I am one of those people. However, you know, hey, PC players, they can look up and they can certainly aim that direction. So I am curious to see if that's actually going to be a win condition that's followed through.
One of the interesting things is because this is our GM tier, a lot of people get to the GM tier by, like, one-tricking a hero. So I don't think we have, like, any Pharah one-tricks here, but that's kind of one of the situations where you can just be... No Yazan, unfortunately. But it's one of the situations where you can be just so good at one particular hero that it ends up, you know, lifting you the entirety of the way, which, again, I'm not saying happened here. We don't know, you know, what these particular players are all what they all specialize in, so... That could be something that we see. We could see a Pharah come out. If there was ever a place to let it rip, it'd be Gardens, and that would also, if that wasn't the side of Kessoku Band, it would also explain why they wanted to go to Lijiang Tower, because it's also the most Pharah-friendly out of the control maps, save for maybe Oasis. But again, apparently everyone hates Oasis for some reason. That's
why though?
I don't know.
Why? What did Oasis ever do to people? I don't know. I mean, you know, Oasis, maybe that's the map that usually is kind of broken just because he gets some lobby issues. But nope, today it is going to be Lijiang Tower with those lobby issues. So we're actually going to go ahead and send it to a brief tech break here, get these lobby problems sorted out, and we'll be right back with you with map number of the Grand Finals. You don't want to miss it. Hello again, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience with this grand finals match. Tech issues have been resolved. We are ready to head into the lovely map of Lijiang Tower. And you know what? At this time, it appears we're still going to be remaining on Gardens. You'll see on your left, we are going to have our Kessoku band, Ragnarok Odin, on the right, ready to battle it out.
Yeah, and interestingly, I mean, this is not what Kessoku Band was flashing before when we had the lobby reset, but this does look to be similar to what Ragnarok Odin will briefly play. There we go. Kessoku Band also going to swap back over to a rush competition here with the Sims. Look for them to go ahead and TP early. Meanwhile, that Sombra dive, be on the lookout for the notorious hacker known as Anonymous to be getting some big hacks, and for 7 to follow it up here. But Kessoku Band going to go ahead and take an early positioning on the point.
Two very different compositions with very different goals of how they will actually work as a unit of 5. Ragnarok Odin, they're playing the speed. They want to get in up close and personal as Kessoku Band want to wait for this engage, and that's what they did. Look how low Ragnarok Odin are, but the hack on Nabuchi is going to be the end of the Reinhardt player. Great start out here for the red team, buying their time. They still have to battle their way through some Symmetra turrets. They do so with absolutely no issue whatsoever, and they'll be gaining that first cap, but not for Kessoku. Grabbed 2 off the back of this.
Yeah, those two people going down, specifically Lucio, is going to have major implications as we get a little bit deeper into it here. Losing 7, though, that might be just enough for Kessoku Band to go ahead and flip it back over. So Ragnarok Odin with a scant 14%. Would have been 13 if Bouchy hadn't stepped off the point there, but getting back on just in time to finish that flip out here. But again, because Feather went down at that point in time, you're going to see Nijika taking the lead when it comes to the sound barrier ult charge. So when Anonymous gets up that EMP, that's going to be a major factor.
And speaking of ultimates, look at Zhuang already has that Kitsune Rush, CB. Like, what in the world is that Kiriko doing to get the engage this quickly? It's huge, but it has to work through Kita's little photon barrier that's been set up across the map. That's actually a really nice placement of that. Ragnarok Odin, they're not really able to engage. They got a bunker around the corner, just be squished by Bochi, pitting straight in. The Reaper will live, and Bochi will not. Quite aggressive from the Reinhardt, having to back off. Yeah, you got both support ults to back up on, but who is that going to help in this situation? Answer is nobody. Ragnarok Odin took advantage of that early aggression, and Kessoku Band gonna go ahead and probably go for a reset on this one.
That is all Duang, by the way, getting that that Kitsune Rush that you called out so soon, being able to use that to engage, and then that is a huge Suzu that ends up saving Nuclear's life there and keeps them alive. A lot more staggers still around, lingering, finally getting cleared up, and Ragnarok Odin is going to flip the point, but they're able to do so using only the Kitsune Rush, which means they're going to have a lot online to hold it with and match that 50% that Kessoku Band is currently sitting with.
They're looking to not only just match it, CB, they want to go right past that 50%. I mean, honestly, if Armada just gets an EMP off here, and this is as good as done for Kessoku if that Lucio cannot grab the sound barrier, but they don't even need it. Nuclear straight into the Death Blossom, doing a dangle of death. Ragnarok Odin, heavy commit here, though. 4 ultimates, CB, and not sure how many of those were actually needed to close that out.
The EMP almost certainly was not. I think they wanted to go ahead and pop that in to try and clean up some of the overhealth from Nijika's sound barrier, which itself might also have been a bit of an overcommitment. But again, yeah, you definitely didn't need to invest all 4 of those ultimates, and that might come back to bite them as Kessoku Band is going to have this Earth Shatter now, and you have nothing to stop it. You're just going to have to hope that you don't lose too many people when the Hammer Mjolnir comes crashing down.
Which is quite ironic because it's against Ragnarok Odin here. They're the last ones that want to see that on their side. Bochi looking to set this one up. There's the Suzu out. Opportunity is prime, but Ragnarok Odin, they've been intimidated off the point. Not even going through engage. They waited too long, though. Kessoku Band now have to fight through a Kitsune Rush to hold on. There's that Earth Shatter, though. Double onto 2. Nice cleanup from Bochi. Makes up from that earlier over-aggression. They'll manage to get the flip back, but in one-fight territory for Ragnarok.
I think that was a great play by Ragnarok Odin to go for that kite there where they back up a little bit and then try and play that dive again. That's a late stagger onto our Anonymous, by the way. That's going to be huge as Kessoku Band is going to get a lot of capture percentage off of that. But again, it comes back to them just not having that beat or any sort of other ultimates to try and tempo the aggression that comes in after that Earth Shatter, which Bouchy just uses entirely to shut down the Kitsune Rush. So now Ragnarok Odin, they have nothing. They have to eco push this and try and build up to something, some tool they can use. And maybe, the TP!
No way! Oh, but Nuclear isn't going to be met with not a great greeting. Kita taking that one out. Ragnarok Odin have been devastated by the boops of Nijika. I don't think we've seen a single fight where these boops haven't come through huge, CB.
Yeah, and we're at 93%. If one of those boops comes through huge again, that's going to be it for Ragnarok Odin. In fact, this might also be it. That Suzu forced out early. Yeah,
they can't
touch
get
the point.
Oh, that is a yikes too. Oh, you do really want to question there Ragnarok Odin where they committed those 4 ults. What would have happened had they actually managed the resources better? Because losing that control, they didn't have the time. It just sped right on past. So that is going to be a first point capture for Kessoku's band heading into Control Center. And I gotta say, they're pretty happy about this map pick.
100%, they get to stick to that rush comp that brought them to the dance. If they were able to play it so effectively on Gardens, they're going to have a much easier time playing it on Control. And meanwhile, Ragnarok Odin, they're going to go ahead and try to match it. So hopefully we don't see the same level of ultimate overcommitments as we did before, getting a little too trigger happy with the EMP. I know, Anonymous likes to get those hacks off. That's what the notorious hacker known as 4chan would do as well. So they're actually going to swap over to a Mei and a Bastion here, but Kessoku going to take an early high ground positioning with this Junkrat.
Yeah, I mean, getting this Junkrat in this position, TV, it's so deadly. Rio can just spam down this choke point. Or Ragnarok Odin, they don't got a choice but to sit there and tank that damage with the shield, force out the resources. But the fact that they have the point with the Bastion and the Mei here, they're going to have a lot of control once Kessoku Band are forced to push in right about now. Mei wall is up, doesn't catch anybody too terribly off guard, and after that Bastion cooldown expires, and no 7 available for the red team, they're not in a great position. Let's keep moving this one forward. This is a very cooldown-based comp. They use them all incredibly early in the fight. Not gonna have a chance to get them back up because Kessoku Band got there first.
In theory, the Bastion should be winning this fight out and just, melting the shield of Bauchi, but that's not what happens. Sheerly off of the positional blunder where Ragnarok Odin decided to go straight to the point and give up that white room for free, so Rio can just constantly pepper in those Junkrat pipes, melt the shield of 7, and Bauchi never even has to take that engage, doesn't have to take that risk. Now in a more neutral situation, if you can get those wheels down for nuclear, you can definitely start to make Bauchi sweat a little bit, but for now, she's sitting pretty. You're going to back up a little bit and concede a little bit of space here as Ragnarok Odin looks to come around.
Oh, yeah, see, there you go. That's in the Mei wall that we need. Get Bauchi walled off from the team, and a pin back in will be eliminated. No main tank, but the trade-off is there onto nuclear. The control is so great with a Junkrat and a Symmetra. This is like one of the few instances that you can survive without a tank if you play out of the range, CB. I mean, there's just not a lot of room for Ragnarok Odin to push in with all of the zoning tools Kessoku Band have at their disposal.
Feather tries to go for the finish there on Kita, but the turret placement from Kita is just too legit. It's all over the point. Everywhere it goes, it's constantly melting down Feather. And again, because Kessoku Band was able to win that first fight out here, look at their ult economy. They're coming up on the Shatter, whereas 7 is only just now starting to get in that same zip code of it. It's going to be Kessoku Band's match to lose here at this point in time. If they stagger these ults out effectively, it's pretty much over for Ragnarok Odin at this point.
Yeah, they got everything between the Earth Shatter, the Rip Tire, be able to throw in. I mean, you can see how cautious Ragnarok Odin is being right now. But the Rip Tire comes from behind. Dwayne didn't expect it. No Immortality Field. The Sound Barrier, yeah, it's going to be down, but Kessoku Band have one of their own to go ahead and match that one up. Earth Shatter on the field of Bauchi. This is what Kessoku needed to do. It was, like you said, it was their fight to lose, and they certainly were able to come out on top.
That fight goes just a little bit faster than it probably should have, though, and Kessoku Band invested everything, so this does give Ragnarok Odin that, desperation kind of touch mode. It might have to be Feather trying to sneak off to the point here. Only 5 seconds left. We'll see if anyone's able to touch. A great counterpin from Bauchi.
Wow.
It doesn't look like anyone is able to touch. They're all kept just too far away from the end zone. You see Bauchi shaking her head. No, nuh-uh, not in my house.
And what a play from Bauchi, too. Usually, any other situation, you'd be yelling at your Reinhardt, "What are you doing? Get back here!" But no, Bauchi, she's too smart. She goes up to that gate, gets the counter pin in. Nobody is able to touch her Ragnarok Odin. They completely negated that last fight. It was absolutely huge. It practically won them Lijiang Tower. I'm not gonna lie here. There was some plays that I feel like should have been punished on the side of Kessoku Band. A lot of overextensions, but they were able to regroup so incredibly well without their tank, CB, that it was crazy how Ragnarok Odin, they struggled themselves to really react to this counter aggression.
It's really easy to play around not having a tank when you have a giant sim wall that just sections off half the map. You're like, okay, I don't have my Rhine shield anymore. Don't worry, I got a back one up right here. Or it'll just cover up the entirety of the map. We'll just kite it a little bit, play behind that. We'll be just fine, safe as houses. And that's actually, it ends up being the case. It's great symmetric play from Kita that tries to temper the aggression from Feather, who's trying to find, something on the Lucio, some big pickoff, some big, any sort of pay dirt that might be able to swing it back in their favor, help get them the man advantage again, and capitalize off of taking out that Reinhardt early, but it's just not enough. And again, Bauchi did so much work on the Reinhardt before she went down that when she comes back with the Earth Shatter, Kessoku Band is still sitting pretty with the ult advantage, and they play it to near perfection there. Again, I feel like it was a little bit of an overcommitment on the ults towards the end there, but there wasn't enough time for Ragnarok Odin to punish it the way that they got punished for it on Gardens.
And that's the thing, because we know that Ragnarok Odin, they showed that they have totally have the ability to take out Kessoku Band, but that resource management and the ability to come back, that clutch factor, hasn't really been there in map number 1. And you know, moving forwards to a different map type completely, we'll often see a change of pace, and that will allow these teams to suddenly find themselves a bit better in terms of how they're going to stabilize in a fight. And Hybrid, there's several points that you're able to kind of set up and sit behind here, and you know, several of the maps, I mean, you would think immediately Kings Row, teams would want to go there, but CB, be glad you didn't bet money on this one. I'm kind of sad that you didn't bet money on this one, because I would have won this bet. We're going to Hollywood, baby.
Yeah, and I realized this as soon as they also, you know, they made a little bit of a tank on their swap there. 7 is going to be coming out, and they're swapping in, you know, a player who is flashing the Sigma, silhouette icon. I don't know if that means they're going to play Sigma or just that it's a player who really, really likes Sigma and the way he's always got his toes out for the world to enjoy. That's my favorite thing about Sigma, and if that's something that they decide to play here, you can definitely get away with a Sigma comp on Hollywood. You can have those toes sitting nice and pretty up on the high ground with a nice shield to block off some hit scans. You know, give them easy access to the heads of Kessoku Band as they try and make their ingress onto the point. Very defender favored here, but yeah, Deimos might be playing something. They're going to want to switch things up here a little bit in the tank department, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's why this map was selected, honestly. The pure unrelenting aggression from Bosu there just was something that was unexpected from Ragnarok Odin. Couldn't really figure out how to counter it. You know what you do? You pick Hollywood, a place where that isn't the best. The high grounds here are very difficult to get to and counteract if you're running something that's not a dive comp, to be totally honest with you. So seeing a Winston, a Diva, a Wrecking Ball, more of this mobile style, it's time for those flexible muscles to show and show that you're able to play a variety of comps, not just a bunch of one tricks.
You bring up the dive comp, by the way, and that's kind of something that I did want to see, which also kind of puzzles me as to why they're bringing out 7, because I did really like the dive comp that I saw from Ragnarok Odin on Garden. Again, we go back to that one fight where they invested 4 ults where they didn't need to. I legitimately think if they hadn't used the EMP in that fight, they could have just completely won the map out right there on the next fight, because, you know, that sound barrier had been invested on the other side. I think it's just that one crucial mistake, and that's not the kind of thing that is a compositional problem so much as just a, okay, we don't do that next time kind of problem. Like, an easy one to learn from, and if they wanted to stick with that dive comp, I think they could find a lot of success with it. But, you know, swapping out their tank but also going to a dive favored hybrid map, that's kind of got me scratching my head a little bit. I want to know what little chefs are cooking down there.
I'm kind of curious. What is the new tank going to play? That is, it's kind of where all of our questions will be answered once we actually see those hero picks come through. And I like you said, it came down to one large mistake that screwed the entire team over on that map. And then since that point forward, Kessoku Band, they were in the driver's seat. They did not make that same mistake. And here they are. They won Lijiang Tower 2-0. That's how challenging, that's how close these teams can get at top levels of gameplay. And one error can completely destroy your future on a map, destroy your chances at winning. So when we're moving forwards into Hollywood, where these mistakes, they can be punished harder because you're actually gaining that progress over time versus having the ability to come back as quickly as before. And we need to be mindful of how we're committing our ultimates, how we are managing that economy. And of course here, where we're actually going to be set up defensively. Granted, these are GM players. I expect them to be on these high grounds, know where they should be controlling these angles, and kind of pick their compositions accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, going back to the compositions, I'm trying to find like any information that I can on like what kind of heroes Demos likes to play, because again, I'm seeing the Sigma icon, I'm seeing a dive map. A Sigma like can work on this map, but I don't know. I'm curious. I want to see more dive coming out and utilize the high ground on both the attack and the defensive side. Make sure that you're able to control that high ground because if they do decide to come out with a Sigma composition, it might just fall flat in the face of a dive composition if that's something that Kessoku Band is able to come out here with. Like, what genre of composition does this particular band know how to play? We saw them with the Rock and Rush. Can we get a little bit of that like hip hop dive coming out from them?
Ooh. Look at all this music. I wish. Well, now they kind of have to play the Sigma. Sigma's like the music guy of Overwatch. We need a Sigma Lucio comp. Now, I'm not encouraging that just because that's not the best synergized, but that is kind of what we need to see. We need to see a battle of the bands.
I mean, Sigma Lucio has great synergy because, again, Sigma's feet are just, like, wide open or they're out for the world to see. And there's this new passive that Lucio has in Overwatch 2. I don't know if you know it, but when he's got his speed aura around, the feet of everybody around him turn green to show that they're affected by it. So it looks like he has, like, gangrenous feet, and I think that's kind of cool. So, like, I think there's some synergy between the two because it makes Sigma's feet look just, like, a little bit more gross, and that's funny to me because I'm very mature. I'm like a child in that way.
Very mature, CB.
They also turn yellow when he's on the healing aura, so make of that whatever you will.
If anybody has green or yellow feet in this chat, I recommend you go to the doctor immediately. That is not normal. Nobody needs to see that. I mean, hey, if Sigma and Lucio, I mean, Lucio's technically a support, right? That he should know that whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or what that's really gonna look like, but I see some green and yellow feet floating around the map. The good news is that we will have to find out if we actually see various colors of rainbow feet, because Hollywood has officially started. Teams have been sorted out. It'll be Ragnarok Odin starting out on the defense here. The winners of the previous map, Kessoku Band, elected to attack, be the pacemakers in their hybrid selection.
We took this whole time talking about green feet, yellow feet. It turns out these teams both had cold feet. They were a little bit too nervous to start the lobby, but, they, linked toes together, warmed each other up, and we are ready to go. And I'm curious to see what ends up happening with both of these comp. I think with Ragnarok Odin, we can kind of count more on what they're running out here with, because, defenders, they're literally going to be on the point. We've got Nuclear back on that Reaper, and Demos on the Diva, so it looks like they still want to play dive. They just want to play a little bit more of that off-tank favored dive. They feel that Diva is going to be stronger and more favored on Hollywood, but they might have gotten hard read here by Kessoku Band, who is currently flashing a Zarya.
Whether it's predicted or not, I don't think Demos here is in for the best time at all. I mean, I think the idea I'm getting from Ragnarok Odin here is a counter dive comp, right? Between the Diva, the Reaper, and even the Ana to some degree. You're looking to completely counter a dive that they're expecting, but they're in for a surprise themselves, because guess what? Here comes the Russian strong woman Zarya. Will be making an appearance, and just going to rush the high ground, taking this away. And granted, there aren't many players of Ragnarok Odin that will be able to play on that area to begin with. So Kessoku Band, they're going to be left looking for an opening here. They're kind of standing around, waiting for something to happen. All right, now they made a decision where we're getting decisive here. It's progress. Move up into the high ground. Nice sleep onto Damos, but they'll be awoken shortly. And Bionade set Kessoku Band back just enough, and now Ragnarok Odin, they've had enough waiting. They want to get in there. They want to have some fun. And taking the fight to them. High ground will eventually be contested. Bochi forcing everybody back down. Just enough time for our Nominus to be contested in the backline. Rio needed to get the setup, and there you go. You're on point. Down goes Nuclear. Nice hack to help out with the elimination of the Reaper. Our Nominus to follow. Kessoku's patience truly has paid off. They've created a new single hit L.
Yeah, they do it by splitting Ragnarok Odin up into chunks here. They've got, they got everybody in different places taking different fights here, and no one's able to really collapse onto any one particular target. And also, look at the aggression out of Bauchi and Nijika here. They're going to get punished for that just a little bit, but, now that they've got the point, that spawn is going to come right back, and they can just try and bully through the spawn here if Ragnarok Odin tries to get cute and goes for a spawn hold here. So all of the momentum is in Kessoku Band's favor, and not only that, they're coming up on an EMP, which, if used effectively, that's a fight win on its own.
To look for this one, Rio. Had a very nice EMP last time. If only the timing was a little bit better. So we'll have to wait and see where that is going. But actually, both Reapers are nanoed simultaneously, but Kita hit with a Bionade forces out an early sound barrier. So Najika needs to use this one. They're looking to chunk down players on the point, but it actually ends up being Kita going down. Nuclear, that's their time to shine, cleaning the floor of the band members, sending them back to the spawn, but with a lot of time to work with.
And that's just a great play from Nuclear there to hold that corner and take out that, that player early on, identify that the sound barrier got forced out, and just chunk through the HP, know that you can find a pick there. Also, accidentally spy checks Ryu there, so we'll see if Rio is able to get that EMP off without getting sussed out, and keeps just pestering Nuclear, that specter ever haunting the Reaper down here.
I know, after that initial hack onto Nuclear that lost them that first point, that Reaper is on full alert, whipping around, and actually it should have been Dwank's on full alert, and they actually losing their Ana there. It is punished, and that elimination on a Guitar Hero means that Ragnarok Odin, they will be okay for the time being without their Ana player. I'm surprised that Kessoku Band didn't commit into this fight with everything they have at their disposal.
Well, I mean, they don't really have the ability to, because Ragnarok Odin is doing a phenomenal job of just holding up that high ground, but getting that EMP off before they get the chance to get themselves back up there is going to mean that they do finally have a chance in this fight. They can invest the EMP, they can invest the Graviton Surge, and they can also forbid Demos from getting that DMech there. Or sorry, that remech.
So they don't have the tank, which is a great start, but you don't really want to play face-to-face into a Reaper within a Kitsune rush. Ragnarok Odin, that was a really good reaction to Kessoku's rather misfortune and misplay, one could argue, and I'm not surprised to see the swap off the Diva and over to the Wrecking Ball.
Or off the Zarya, rather, instead of the Diva.
My bad, yes.
Yeah, because the Zarya doesn't have any ability to challenge the high ground, and Ragnarok Odin just has full control over it. Nothing can touch them currently. You know, Kita's up here trying, but just firing into a defense matrix, might as well be screaming into a void here, but Nuclear might actually be the first to fall, courtesy of this Wrecking Ball swap that can now actually take over some of this high ground, start to threaten it, boot people off, knock them way back here. Now the fight's happening on the ground thanks to Bouchy.
Yeah. And look how much space Bouchy bought too with that. You give him the nano boost, and yeah, she's gonna go absolutely ham in this backline. And now they just don't have the healing though. Guitar Hero has been taking a beating. This DPS duo of Nuclear and Artemis have been chasing the supports down, so Kessoku Band haven't had them the majority of the game. Thankfully, they're rather self-sustained, so they'll drag it on for a little longer, but yeah, Ragnarok Odin, they're not having any of this Wrecking Ball shenanigans.
And they really don't have to, because Guitar Hero is never going to be in an advantageous position on this Ana, courtesy of, you know, the nature of this comp. The only person that can realistically peel for Guitar Hero is Nijika, and maybe Kita, but Kita and Rio are both going to be off on solo missions, but Bouchy is going to be rolling around at the speed of sound all over the place like Sonic, you know. Nuclear can just go in with a Death Blossom and solo Blossom Guitar Hero, and it becomes up to Guitar Hero to hit a big Sleep Dart or hit some big cooldown to try and stave off that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, look there's the pressure on a Guitar Hero once again. The sound barrier keeps them alive, negating that for now. But then Nuclear ends up going down. Nice read on that play. Everybody moved out of the way, so Kessoku Band, they are straight into the fray. Looking to get these cleanup eliminations, push this payload as far as they can, because these staggers are going to be big towards getting the second point.
Yeah, and that's kind of the one way that you can counter having a situation like I mentioned, where you have the Ana being in a very vulnerable position, is you just make the enemy team feel all the more vulnerable. You take the initiative, you take the aggression, and you find the early picks. They can do the same here with an EMP or with a minefield, and that should be enough to shove it into checkpoint B here.
And they got to do the initiating, though, because Ragnarok Odin, they still managed to get both of their support outs before this went down, and now there's no Kita to get the follow-up. Kessoku Band, it was their fight to lose, but Ragnarok Odin were able to react just in the nick of time to prevent that EMP from doing too much damage, and suddenly we're down from 5 minutes to the final 30 seconds.
Yeah, Kessoku Band, unfortunately for them, they do have a lot of fast heroes. They can definitely get a touch here, and it's going to be a staggered fight here. But Anonymous, if Anonymous is able to get a stick onto Guitar Hero, that might just be it, because there won't be enough healing here. It's up to Kita to try and keep Anonymous in check and win out the duel. And it's so close to being able to do that mission successfully, but isn't able to just yet. 15 HP is all that separates them in success right now.
The Tracer is still alive, but the minefield did get out. So Kessoku Band, they've zoned off the majority of the path where the payload needs to go. Now they actually need to clean up these eliminations. They haven't found any of these final blows. The sleep dart is there. The Wrecking Ball cannot be the one to contest. Anonymous is finally getting checked out, which is huge. Great elimination from Kita. This Tracer switch has been paying out in dividends for Kessoku Band. Ragnarok Odin, they don't have a lot to rally behind, and that sound barrier might as well be the sound of their deaths. On the second objective, we'll be reaching this lovely little space portion of Hollywood. After all, Kessoku Band continuing their run.
And again, you called it out. Again, that Tracer swap by Kita has been phenomenal because now there is someone that can try and keep the enemy Tracer in check and keep Guitar Hero a lot more healthy. Everyone is able to stay healthy and alive thanks to Guitar Hero's healings, and you know, you definitely lose that in your previous iteration of this composition where everyone was out on a solo mission and no one was really checking where Anonymous was. Nuclear could just kind of get away with doing whatever, but playing this Tracer, taking that duel and being a lot more defensive is paying dividends for them. And they've also cycled themselves back around to another EMP here as well, so they can keep this momentum going. It's going to be an overtime cap if a cap comes at all, but having that ultimate and not losing Rio here is key.
Rio's actually gotta live here. That could be the end of Kessoku Band's journey. They're able to do so. There's the EMP, but not before the Kitsune Rush gets out. The Suzu's gonna negate all of those hacks coming back around. Ragnarok Odin, what should have been a fight lost, suddenly turned into a winnable one. They're having to commit heavily into this fight, but with the time remaining, that is okay. Kessoku Band need to force out every single ultimate and conserve their own for one final push.
And something interesting, by the way, is that Bauchi swapped off of the Wrecking Ball. Great sleep there by Guitar Hero. Oh my goodness. And yeah, that's going to take out our Anonymous. Okay, that's going to give them a nice opening to get back on the point here. But as I was calling back, Bauchi swapped back onto this Zarya, which is going to mean that they're going to want to try and bully the rest of Ragnarok Odin off of the point and try and build up to this Graviton Surge. If they get that in OT, that might be the game winner. But look at Nuclear on the top rope with this Death Blossom.
Here it comes! Oh, this no, needed to hit the sleeping Guitar Hero, misses it at the most critical time. The Nano Boost is gone. Kessoku Band names Afterlife on the sound barrier to keep them going. They've lost pieces. Now they need to gather the scraps to run through these few meters that are necessary to push on Rio so close to that EMP to go ahead and give him a win condition. And the pieces are running in their favor. Guitar Hero returns. Nano Boost has been unleashed. EMP is there. It's out of two, but Daimo's on the Ramatra is shutting it all back down to the ground, punching and diving, shoving every bit of their existence into the point because Kessoku Band, you're too fast, and Kita is too darn good with a 4K CB to win out this map and get that full completion here. The win condition has been set.
What a play from Kita. Just top to bottom, Kita ends up being the hero. It's the swap off of that Reaper onto the Tracer that helps enable their dive composition, that lets them unlock checkpoint B, and it's that 4K at the end there that helps keep them alive despite losing Guitar Hero early, despite losing Bauchi and Bauchi being forced to swap off the Zarya back to the Wrecking Ball, essentially conceding almost all of that charge towards the Graviton Surge in the interest of just keeping the fight alive. Bauchi comes back on the Wrecking Ball just long enough for Kita to essentially go nuts with their own solo there, you know, taking everybody down, and that's huge. Just being able to capture on Hollywood. We don't often see a lot of excess time banks on Hollywood. Things tend to stall out on point B a lot of the time, like we saw here. So Kessoku Band have set themselves up with a phenomenal win condition here.
They really did. Their ability to adapt mid-fight after losing integral pieces of their team blows me away. It absolutely does. I mean, there's so few rosters that are able to pull such things off, especially with Ragnarok Odin. They're focused. They're trying their darndest to find these eliminations, and they haven't been able to close it out as well as they would have liked to. I mean, they made a complete and total swap here on the attack. We have Deimos on the Doomfist.
Rio's a liar. Rio's a liar in the chat.
And Rio, okay. Okay, well, you know what? Hey, they know they're lying. Rio, liars are going to get punished.
Yeah, Liar might just get punished here, seeing that Doomfist come out. You know, a big slam and a punch could be enough. Oh my goodness. Yeah, already going to force the recall out from Nuclear there, but I'm curious to see what this Doomfist ends up doing against this Zarya comp here, who they decide to engage on, and who Ragnarok Odin wants to take down. Like, who is their target going to be? Because the only person on Kessoku Band that looks vulnerable is supposed to be Guitar Hero, but not now.
Yeah. No, Guitar Hero has had enough with the beating that they've taken. It's like, no, it is your turn. I have been the punching bag for way too long. I also love how Bochi's been sitting in the front line with 0 charge, lasering him down like they've got 100. Like, that's just intimidation right there that this Zarya player has, walking up to the front line. And that's actually really good because Ragnarok Odin, they're not able to push through with this Doomfist because they need to move past the Zarya in order to get these more vulnerable players, but they lose so much health on the way. They're struggling on the gauge. Now that they've identified Guitar Hero, it's their chance to push in, but Kita is still hot from the last round, winning the Tracer Dueler off of Nuclear, and Bochi getting another one is going to seal the deal for Kessoku on this defense. Ragnarok Odin, they're trying something new, but it has not worked out so far.
Something that we talk about on maps like Circuit Royale is the Widow 1v1, where if one Widow is getting the better of another constantly, then the other team does not have to worry about the threat of that headshot coming in from time to time. It's the same thing with this Tracer 1v1. If Kessoku Band is able to continue to hold on long enough for Kita to keep winning the 1v1s with Nuclear here, then, you know, Kessoku Band, they don't have to worry about Nuclear applying that pressure to their backline. They don't have to worry about the Tracer following up on the dive. They only have to focus on the Doomfist. But this time, Demos is going to find pay dirt.
You actually get the elimination, but what about, you were talking about so much about the Tracer, what about the Genji? Rio here comes up with a triple kill. I mean, it's Dragon Blade, you expect nothing less, and Ragnarok Odin, they're upset about that one. That was the closest they've come to getting that point. They committed that nano boost onto the Doomfist here, and they got absolutely nowhere with it.
The Genji? I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what?
Rio is not Genji. She told her
my brain is not working today. And Rio is not Genji, and yeah, no, there is no Genji on the field. Anonymous has made sure of that, re-engaging quickly for Ragnarok Odin. They built up these ultimates, and yeah, Kessoku Band, they're gonna go running for the hills here. They left that door open just a little bit too long, didn't get that full regroup.
I like the Echo swap here. I think that's a great read because there's not a whole lot of healthy targets that the EMP would have done. That's a great sound barrier though by Nijika as well, but it's not enough to keep Bouchy alive.
I mean, the grab does force out the sound barrier, so I'm like, alright, that's kind of worth it, especially if you're wanting to swap, but Ragnarok Odin had pretty clearly won that fight, so committing kind of heavily into that, I do make questions, but Bucci transitioning over to the Doomfist. We've got the mirror battle now. This one's about to get a little messy.
And I talked about how I liked Anonymous swapping off of the Sombra and onto the Echo. I now like Rio, who is not Genji for real this time, swapping onto the Sombra because now she can just go forth and hack this Echo and just bring her down to earth, crashing down time and time again, and that makes it easy for Kita to mop it up. By the way, Kita with a pulse bomb here doesn't find much of anything, but you know, puts the fear in them, reminds them who they're dealing with.
I mean, I'm a little scared off of that. And Rio, not Genji out here. You cannot deflect kunai anymore. Dwayne will find your head. Ragnarok Odin, they've forced Kessoku Band back pretty darn far. I mean, Anonymous is still lasering these people down. The amount of burst damage that Echo provides is such a threat to the red team here that they don't really have an opportunity to push up. Look at the pressure that Bochi is under between the two DPS players. I mean, that's not a fun place for a Doomfist to be. We eventually will be able to take them out, but you're going to need a little bit more than that to be able to stabilize fully.
I gotta say, Bouchy does not look very comfortable on the Doomfist right now. I'm not sure if this is a regular pick for her, but I would kind of like to see them swap over to something that can deal with the Echo a little bit more effectively, or that can check the Tracer, or maybe, stick back onto the Zarya and keep that going, just go for the full brawl here, because this Doom dive is not working out. Daimos is definitely getting the better of that exchange, gonna find two, and that might just close out point B for them. Great sleep, though.
I mean, great sleep, but, I mean, can you get the follow-up? Nope, you don't get the follow-up. Yeah, like you said, CB, this is just Damos winning that Doomfist battle, straight up. And they have a dive-ult target to go on. Guitar Hero is dead half the time. Ragnarok Odin, they've been pretty swift to clean up this map. And even if a commit does come through, which it does look like Kita wants to get the touch out here, EMP onto 3 on the payload, but nobody really to follow up. It has to be on Kita once again. It was a hero to their team before, and now it's both support ultimates behind them. The amount of commitment made, Kessoku absolutely have to go ahead and win this fight out. Damos striking back down onto the payload. Makita with a pulse bomb gets straight in the tank, gets rid of that setup. So Ragnarok Odin are gonna pay for everything that Kessoku dumped into that fight.
Look at all of the time that we've been on checkpoint B here, and in all of that time, Bouchy has only just now built up to a Meteor Strike. I have to highlight it again. I don't know if she's particularly comfortable on the Doomfist. I think another hero might be better for this composition here, because while you can sometimes rely on Kita to make those big hero plays like that, you can't always rely on her to make those sorts of plays. Every now and then, you know, she's not going to have the resources, or she's not going to have the tools to go silly like that. You're going to have to try and make up the difference here and win out this this tank mirror.
With the Ragnarok Odin, they've been doing very well so far, and you know, I don't see any reason for them to not continue that, especially when they still have that sound barrier in their grasp. And Rio almost goes down, oh, 35 HP. Demos has not given up on them yet. Actually switched targets onto Diana, saw that they were vulnerable, but too many cooldowns and not enough left for the tank player. Ragnarok Odin, they lost that main initiator once again, and they're going to be down to one final fight. And what do they have to really help win this one out?
They have to play it slow and try and play for the Kitsune Rush, but the problem with that is that Guitar Hero is going to have the Nano Boost, and Kita has a Pulse Bomb as well, and we've seen just how much of a hero she can be with that ultimate ability. If anyone's able to touch, they just have to try and play slow, tempo it, and not fall to the ult bank that Kessoku Band is coming up here with.
Kessoku Band, they've managed to build up quite the plethora of tools to work with the touch! That was step number one, CB. We knew how they could have won the fight, but it didn't even happen in the first place because nobody got there. And do we call that a C9? Was anybody even close enough to that objective? Oh,
I feel like I want to call that a C9. I didn't, you know, we didn't have the observer on the cart at that point in time because I think everyone expected the Lucio to be able to get a touch here, myself included, but
yeah,
that's just a really, really unfortunate way. That's quite the unfortunate aria to be played there. Kessoku Band, they're going to go ahead and take a 2-0 lead here. I believe that scorecard is tricking me because Ragnarok Odin, they did not capture the cart there. Let's, I think we want to fix that there. That's going to be a 2-0 lead for Kessoku Band. They're going to want to, you know, they're going to keep this momentum going, and it's going to, again, be Ragnarok Odin's map pick for this next one here. So, you know, their plan on Hollywood didn't pan out. Even though they did look really strong on the Doomfist there, it was just Kita going insane, Ryu going absolutely insane, and Guitar Hero, you know, again, a lot of big plays. A lot of the times that we saw Demos dying was because of the anti-nades or the sleep darts or the big plays coming out from Guitar Hero. So able to help make up some of the difference where it seemed like Bouchy's Doomfist was lacking. But I think, you know, if you don't put Kessoku Band in a position where they have to play that Doomfist again, they're going to keep rolling with this momentum.
And I think that was kind of the goal of picking Hollywood, was to get off the Reinhardt, right? Is you want to force them onto a different cake. The Reinhardt was not the play. It did not work out for Ragnarok Odin against them, so they wanted to switch up the pace, which it did. It really threw that Doomfist. That wasn't a good strength. So they wanted to change the composition. They did, but then suddenly the rest of Kessoku Band looked really strong. So we're starting to see that adaptability come through, which is very important, especially in these long series like this. 2-0 lead for Kessoku Band, heading into map number 3, but before we get there, we're going to go head to a short break, go get some water, get some popcorn. You're going to need it because this series still has maps to go.
Come on.
number 3 is ready to commence here shortly. We've got Tiny Shiny and CB and our lovely 2 teams, Kessoku Band and Ragnarok Odin, one of which, the lovely band today, playing a lovely song that's gotten them a 2-0 victory. The crowd's going wild, not as wild as they would if they closed out the next 2 maps in a row to win this grand finals event. Something's got to change here on our next map of Escort here. I believe we're going to Havana, Ragnarok's Odin's selection, and it's going to be one of their last if they're not careful about how they're playing.
Yeah, taking it to Havana, and it's not to kick their feet up and smoke some Cuban cigars. It's to try and get this momentum back in their favor. They're looking more like the daughter of Odin right now because they're hella disorganized. They're all over the place. They're not touching the point. They're kind of misusing some of their ulti. You like that one? I was like ready to go with that one. I saw Thor Ragnarok once and I got all the jokes.
Wow. I mean, hey, it was a good movie.
Very good movie. Honestly, Taika Waititi, great director. I love just the sense of humor that movie has. But, something that is not quite as funny is the way that Ragnarok Odin has been playing here and what they have to do. They have to get serious here. Something that's interesting is that they have not swapped out Demos here, so they are sticking with that as their tank player for Havana, which checks out because, if you want to play things like the Sigma, the Diva, the Doomfist, Havana is a great place to let those kinds of things go. I kind of would like to see Ragnarok Odin come out with a Sigma comp here and see if they can maybe get the better of a sniper 1v1 or, any sort of comp maybe that just doesn't let Kita just have her way with the entirety of the team.
Kita's been an issue, and that's putting it lightly. Kita has been a real pain in the butt. Well, let's go with that. For anything Ragnarok Odin has tried to do. You can't even shut her down with the Tracer of 1v1s. Been getting the best of those 99% of the time, and then is free to tear up the backline. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit in the break, that Ragnarok Odin, they start out great, while Kessoku Band, they don't start out so great, but they finish so well because Kita is allowed to do these things when Ragnarok Odin just fall apart the longer that these engagements go. So we're hoping, for their sake and the continuation of this series further, that Havana is going to provide that correct change of pace for them, especially when you're thinking about, we like to see snipers, we got our Widowmakers, our Hanzos. I do not like that hero, but we see them here anyways. All these things that want to play the range game, not allow Kita to get as close, not allow her to cause as much damage as she is, because if this continues, this very well could be Ragnarok.
Yeah, low key, the key to success is taking down Kita. Did you like that one? That was a double. That was a 2-for-1. I was cooking that one up the whole time. I'm always coming in with the wordplay, but it's true. Again, like we said, you have to shut down Kita. You can't just let her get away with everything. And we haven't seen a whole lot of long range hit scan or even medium range hit scan out of Kessoku Band. We saw a little bit of Rio flashing the Cassidy towards the end of Hollywood, but we also haven't seen either of these squads on maps that particularly favor a long-range hit scan, so we don't really know what they're capable of when it comes to that sort of play. And, do they want to opt into that, or do they want to try and make the dive work on Havana? Because I believe it's not advantageous to do so, but it is indeed possible. But have a look at Ragnarok Odin right now. This is exactly what I want to see out of them.
Yeah, this is exactly what we needed. We wanted that change of pace for them, and honestly, that's just one of the few opportunities that they have left to control the map. And even if they end up winning this one, I do wonder, how are they going to be able to push forwards from here? The momentum has got to flip before it is too late. Ragnarok Odin, it is your time to shine, as they're running out on this double sniper composition, whereas Kessoku Band, quite the opposite if this actually remains true. I don't think that this is going to work super well into what Ragnarok Odin are playing, especially with their current positioning.
Bauchi actually going to swap back over onto the Doomfist, and never mind, back over to the Junker Queen. All right, throwing me for a loop there, but this comp, I'm not quite sure what the win condition is for Kessoku Band's composition here. They were playing in harmony before, but it's starting to feel a little bit more dissonant. We'll see, if they're able to get any value out of this. They go in with a commanding shout early to try and take this high ground from Demos, but Demos doesn't really have to back up all that much.
And you know what it is? It's because Rio is not on Genji. Kita is the one on Genji, and Rio's the one on Widowmaker who just popped 2 heads! What a perfect distraction for Kessoku Band! They pushed the back, opened the door wide for Rio to just pop some heads like balloons, and yeah, here they are. What a play.
Yeah, I brought it up briefly on, when we were on Hollywood about how a Widow 1v1 can shape the entire dynamic of a matchup here, and we're seeing it right now on Havana, which, again, much like a Circuit Royale that I used for that example, favors this kind of double sniper composition. So if Rio just keeps getting the better of our Anonymous here, Kessoku Band can just completely run away with it. But Bauchi and Nijika might have tried to run a little too deep.
And that's the hard part. You're playing 2 separate games here. You need Rio to do a bunch of things, but then you're not playing as a full 5, so that front line can get run over pretty easily. It's exactly what happened. Kessoku Band, they did get a lot of space, which is first part of Vana can be very difficult to work through. Now their job just became quite a bit easier.
I would actually argue that it's become a lot harder because now you're going to have a spawn advantage for Ragnarok Odin. They're going to be able to get back to the fights a lot more quickly. This is why we see a lot of carts stall out at this point in Havana, is because that spawn advantage starts to favor the defending side just a little bit more, whereas the attackers have to come out and wrap all the way around that corner just to get to where the cart is, and they're not going to have a Lucio to do it because our Anonymous has decided to turn on.
Yeah, and you needed the Widowmaker to show up. And the reason I say it's easier is just because they can close this gap much quicker versus when you're having to rotate all the way around to this high ground. But yeah, you are very correct. These high grounds these spawn differences are going to mean the death of multiple people. And Kessoku Band, yeah, they're going to go ahead snag Jing. So a lot of resources committed on About You. Struggled on the Doomfist and is doing so once again. 31 HP and against Hanzo. Eventually the Boulder will be there to seal their fate. The payload remaining stalled out. Somebody's got to get in to touch Ragnarok Odin, but they've done it again, CB! A fight that the defense should have won, but Odin is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, it feels like Ragnarok Odin just forgot to tie their shoelaces today because they just keep tripping all over themselves. They're not able to touch the point there, despite having the Dragon Strike that should have just rolled out the red carpet for them to be able to get in there and keep that contest going. But they let the Widowmaker and the Lucio just cap the point right out from under their noses. And now, perhaps angry, they're going for something of a spawn hold here. But once this breaks, they're not going to have the high ground. So you can already see Demos knows that and wants to try and back up. But playing that far forward, you're gonna give Rio angles to do just that. What a rock!
Where is Rio? Actually, I think the Rio was on a flank that whole time. I don't know where the Widowmaker is, and it's kind of concerning to be told. There's Rio! We found him! CB! What is happening right now? It is some shenanigans of the highest degree. I mean, Kessoku Band, look what they're doing. She is spawn holding 2 players and winning as a result! Rio! My goodness gracious, they're losing the frontline battle, but of course, this is absolute peak content.
The DPS line of Kessoku Band is just too good. They are hard gapping Ragnarok Odin right now, and not just Nuclear, not just Anonymous, but hard gapping the whole team. Yeah, Bounchy with a little bit of BM in the chat, asking the same questions we are here. Yeah, Rio with a little bit of that dive backlining Widowmaker gonna finally get punished for this, and this should be Ragnarok Odin stabilizing slightly, but they haven't quite dislodged Bouchy on the Doomfist yet.
This is what I'm talking about, CB, is that Ragnarok Odin, they're such a well-organized team that they're expecting Kessoku Band to play that same organized fashion. When they do things like this, they don't know how to react at all, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't know how to react to this either, because it is absolutely crazy what is happening right now. Kessoku Band, though, they've been forced to regroup and even made a couple composition swaps, which could help them in the long run here.
Knowing the way that Rio's been playing, swapping over to that Sombra means that she's going to try and play it like a sniper now. So able to take out the enemy sniper, so I guess it's working, and that should be enough for Kessoku Band to get some Ingress here.
Widowmaker, Sombra, you still get the enemy Widowmaker, same result. Ragnarok Odin, they're not having good luck with their ultimates either. A complete whip on the Gravitic Flux, and Kita just going in, slicing and dicing. Yeah, Kessoku Band, they just needed to regroup. CB, that's all they needed to do. Stop screwing around, because they can genuinely win these fights as a 5 if they are actually deciding to take them as 1. So there's no chance for the defense to re-engage here. It's just going to be a slow roll through. I mean, Anonymous does get a touch onto the payload here, and they're managing to clean it up. Kita already committed this dash, doesn't have a whole lot of health to work with. That last second touch really paid off for the Sombra, because Juangso got on the high ground, zoned everybody out, and Kessoku Band, they're going to have to regroup for about one last push here with a minute remaining.
Yeah, they've bled off a lot of the time bank with this silliness here, but they only have to nudge that cart in a little tiny bit longer. But the problem with that is they've been spy checked and they don't quite have that EMP yet. They might actually lose this duel now, trying to play on the health pack there. Yeah, Anonymous gonna clean up Rio there. That is bad because now they're not going to have the EMP going into this next fight. That's going to give Feather time to build up to that Transcendence. That's going to give Anonymous time to match that EMP. This might actually be just what Ragnarok Odin needs to stop this cart where it stands.
You could not have asked for a better time for that to happen. Ragnarok Odin, they needed something to go their way. This is the thing to go their way. Won't find the Ana with the pulse bomb, but it did force out a couple of key cooldowns as a result. Kessoku Band and Ragnarok have matching EMPs. It's the battle of the EMPs here. Who gets more value? The difference is, look what Feather did. Immediately swapped with the Zenyatta, but just too short of the Transcendence. Their initiation from Ryu. That is the win condition Kessoku needed to pull out, and Kessoku Band, they found it. Now all they need to do, get the final push of payload for these couple of meters that are necessary. They don't have Guitar Hero to do it, so they need to be cautious about how much damage they're taking. Cleaning up these eliminations quick, though, isn't too much of a concern for them. One last player standing, just that pesky little Samba, or Nominus even committed that Transcendence on the cart. Ragnarok Odin, I guess they think this is still going to be a winnable fight, which, I mean, hey, why not? Pour everything into it, but assuming this one's won by Kessoku Band, who has the greater resource management, yeah, that was just a bunch of wasted time and energy for Ragnarok Odin, and it's not going to set them up here on third point.
The window between that EMP from Rio and that Transcendence from Feather coming online was about a tooth skin wide, and she's still able to, you know, thread that needle there, get that in just in time. And then for whatever reason, Feather decides to invest it on the contest there. I don't agree with that whatsoever, because look at Kita with that Dragon Blade, look at Guitar Hero with that Nano. There is nothing better to stop a Nano Blade than a Transcendence, in my own personal opinion. I sure would love to have one right now if I'm Ragnarok Odin, but I just don't.
I mean, Feather might not have a Transcendence, but the Feather is still Feather and does Zenyatta things as Feather, so, hey, you totally take that. Keep that EMP off, too! These eliminations from onto Kessoku are huge for Ragnarok, because they're still going to build up to a couple of their ultimates as well. We're going to get the Gravitic Flux online here, and they're completely swapping away from the EMP, Stevie, over to the Widowmaker. Rio, you have to do some great things right now to just make up for that value lost with the EMP, and it's got to be the Kia to do the one to do it, but caught in the Gravitic Flux. The Genji's just a sitting duck in the sky. All the support in the world, though. That's going to be the Kita we know and love. Eventually, we'll lose that beloved Genji over Kessoku. They've got the payload rolling and no signs of stopping.
That was a great play from Demos there to try and use the Gravitic Flux in absence of that Transcendence to counteract the Nano Blade. But again, a Nano Genji is just going to be too much to try and take down with that ult. And as soon as he comes back down to earth, he starts slashing up again. Going to swap over onto the Soldier 76 now to try and help force this in, but might not even need it because Rio is just fragging out again.
And Rio needed to make up for losing that EMP on the Widowmaker. That's exactly what they're able to do right here and right now. Kessoku Band, they're very close to closing this one out, but the spawns are brutal for these attackers to work through. Ragnarok Odin, they have 0 win conditions to really play this one out other than the fast spawns, and Rio is going to remain uncontested, so they're getting sent back just as quickly as they're rejoining the fight. Bauchi cleaning up on this objective. Just the amount of staggers thrown in. Yeah, Armanis has got a couple, but the attack, the red team here is simply too strong to be countered out. It's going to be a second overtime full capture for Kessoku Band. They are on a roll with the attacks. I can see why they're picking this first.
Absolutely, and this all kind of mirrors like what we saw on Hollywood. The fact that Kessoku Band is able to capture at all when they probably shouldn't have is going to set themselves up for a solid win condition. Havana is another map where we don't often see full 3-point caps here, so yeah, they can just stop the cart anywhere here on point C, and that is a world of space to work with. You don't really have to worry all that much about Ragnarok Odin getting the capture here. Not to mention, Rio has just been pounding on the Widowmaker, and because she's now going to be on the defense, she's going to be set up. She's going to have the angles. She's not going to have to try and, you know, spend all this time looking for them if that's what they decide to play here. Meanwhile, Ragnarok Odin... hey, bye, Bauchi.
Bye. Okay.
Whatever. Meanwhile, Ragnarok Odin is looking to play something a little bit interesting into a known Widowmaker.
I don't know about this, to be honest. This is arguably, CB, one of the worst points to play Pharah on in the game, in my opinion, unless you are spawn camping. But it looks like we're going to see the opposite situation where Bochi wants to do the spawn camping.
And I don't know if I agree with this either. I think both teams are kind of getting a little bit silly here. I don't think spawn camping with a Doomfist is particularly advisable. I don't think playing a pharmacy is particularly advisable. Like, I think everybody just, you know, I know we're in PC tier, so I can't say controllers, but I think everybody handed their mouse and keyboard over to their little brother, and like they just decided to play like whatever they felt like at this point in time. So, you know, shout out to little brothers. They get to play the game sometimes too, but yeah, Rio getting a little close for comfort there.
Yeah, Rio. Yeah, I think Arnominus took one look at Rio. Was like, nah, yeah, I'm not doing this. Ragnarok Odin. Okay, they made this. They made this quick swaps. They've gotten the controllers back to the correct older siblings that are superior at the game, because that is how that works totally. Kessoku band, though, they're still in a great position on this high ground, and it forces Ragnarok to be the ones to disrupt them, force them out of position. But Arnominus can't find the angle and has to back out. It does divert Kita's attention from the objective, which gives Demon a lot of chance to work. Take out Bochi here. With the tank gone, Ragnarok Odin, they're going to feel much safer moving on forwards here, but nobody's going to be safe until Rio's out of the fight.
Bouchi gonna swap off of the Doomfist. She's done essentially nothing on that hero, so I'm glad to see that swap coming through and swapping over onto the Wrecking Ball. Meanwhile, Kita has gone back to her ways where she just decides it's time for you to die. We don't need a tank if we just kill all of you.
There you go. That's kind of how it actually has been going all day for Kessoku Band. And Bachi, very good tank nonetheless, but okay. Even when she has a hard time actually getting things done, Rio and Kita are both there to compensate for those errors.
She essentially just did, oh my goodness, Rio. She essentially just did in like 5 seconds on Wrecking Ball what it took her like 2 whole minutes to do on the Doomfist here. So again, I really, really like this swap. It's definitely a lot more in her wheelhouse. A nice pick up there onto our Anonymous towards the end. They're going to slow up that EMP charge and let them build up back up to their own full stack here, but they are losing the Wrecking Ball there. Not good.
Yeah. I mean, this always happens, though. I mean, they lose that tank player so early, but they got the nano boost on Akita, I believe. But a nice bio nade will burn her on down. But, you know, the real threat is Rio, still alive in this fight, but nobody really to contest the cart, which is going to be kind of an issue if this one progresses. Bochi is here and just is waving hi, being friendly to the supports. We love to see that from a Wrecking Ball player, but this is still a grand finals match, people. Time to take it seriously because these saggers from Kessoku tell me that's the complete opposite of what they're doing.
Yeah, this song that the band's playing here, a little bit of a parody, starting to look a little bit more like Weird Al, but still quite lethal is Kita from long range with that Soldier 76 cleans up feather there. Again, they've lost Bouchi, but stop me if you've heard this before. They have ultimates to try and hold it, but meanwhile, Ragnarok Odin, they can just brute force this in.
I was going to say, are they going to touch? And it is the Widowmaker of all players to touch. That does get out both the sights and the Gravitic Flux, so I guess you take that trade. But Ragnarok Odin, they're not too worried about that whatsoever, because with nearly 3.5 minutes and quite a bunch of check marks to work with, yeah, they'll be okay.
I think, yeah, what I want to see them do right now is precisely what we're seeing Demos do here, is try and take this high ground for themselves and deny anyone from Kessoku Band to get their feet firmly planted on it. Don't give Rio angles, and you can see Anonymous actually pinging Rio, but yeah, Dwang didn't get the memo.
No, Dwang didn't get the memo. The information was there, but nope, you don't have that player to work with, so that EMP, you can't hang around long. You don't have the health to rejuvenate. So Ragnarok Odin, they just blew that ultimate, threw it down the drain practically.
Yeah, and again, that's like, now they've conceded this entire high ground to Kessoku Band. Now you have Kita with attack visor that she can choose to pop at any given moment. You can allow Rio to get set up here and start playing the angles where now Ragnarok Odin has to find a way in. Blowing up Kita just at will, though, that might be a great way to start.
Well, that's one way to break open a window. Alrighty then. So they've made her one step through, but Rio is still alive and
Great
still
hack.
A problem here. The hack is going to get Bochi, force out the sound barrier here. Jika, keeping these players alive. Ragnarok Odin, this is the hardest part of this objective to move through because Rail's got the sight lines and zero congestion unless Anonymous and Luca can get up there, which they've been shut down every time they've tried. Bochi still doing what they do best, which is borderline feeding, but you know what? If it works out in the end for Kessoku Band, that is a-okay. Problem is, this time, the feeding did not work out because Ragnarok Odin, they're able to regroup themselves, get back on the same page, and focus fire to finally confirm these eliminations which they've struggled to do so far.
I think Bouchy can do a little bit of feeding, considering how much spaghetti Ragnarok Odin has dropped. Bouchy, she's just saying, here, you look like you dropped all yours, let me get you some here. Actually gonna swap over onto the Reinhardt. No Transcendence on the board for Feather any longer, gonna invest that just to counteract a hammer swing.
I mean, it's a nanoed hammer string. That's okay. I'd be a little scared as that Omnic as well. But that's also kind of scary, Feather. It's got pancaked against the wall. Splat goes the Zenyatta, but splat goes the rest of Kessoku Band in the Gravitic Flux with the nano and that ultimate committed towards the end with nobody alive. Ragnarok Odin, I'm getting a deja vu flashback here of that Gardens map on Lijiang Tower where it was
staggering
winnable,
out
but these staggers.
They're staggering.
This is bad, CB.
Anonymous knows better than to uncloak right now, despite being so close to that EMP. That is not the thing you want to do right now. And I think, yeah, they even heard Anonymous throw the EMP down there, so they know to look for that translocator. They know somewhere this hacker known as Anonymous is once again lurking. That's the only tool that Ragnarok Odin really has to try and force it the rest of the way through checkpoint B here. Kessoku Band, they are firmly in the driver's seat right now.
And, I mean, this EMP could change that, though. The only thing you need to count on here is Najika getting this sound barrier up online, which they're not going to be able to. There goes Bochi, punished way off in this high ground here. And Ryo is going to have a similar fate if they don't get the heck out of there right now. Dashing back in, actually, and try to get this one down. But no Najika, no sound barrier. Ragnarok Odin mere meters away from capturing the objective. Players, they're dropping down like crazy to make sure this one seems winnable. Bochi's returning with this Earth Shatter, but knowing them, they're going to want to commit it. There it is, down only onto the Somber, gonna get the elimination. Nano boost online, all the cards being thrown into this Reinhardt, and Bochi gotta come up huge right now, but the support is dwindling. Ragnarok Odin did the damage way too quickly to be healed back up, and they're gonna go ahead and get themselves that second point capture here, and this is a really big thing for them to do here, CB. They've been struggling to get through, I mean, with Kessoku continuously throwing bodies at the objective. Look at the ultimates they've managed to build up in the meantime.
Yeah, the Annihilation, that's a huge one. They're going to have a nano to couple that with, and that is a fight winner on its own. Nijika is going to have to know, understand that this is coming and be able to counteract that with the sound barrier. We also have Rio coming up on that Dragon Blade and Feather coming up on the beat here. So a lot of counterplay between these two comps here. Whoever ends up getting the better of their ult economy is going to win this next fight here. It also might behoove Ragnarok Odin to not engage in this fight too heavily and save it for the next one.
Yeah, they just let Kessoku do their thing. Let them use all of those key win conditions right now. Approaching. Okay, that was slightly unnecessary. Maybe a little bit of BM in this finals match, but now the Reinhardt's gonna get punished for it, so you know what? You go ahead and take those. Let Zhuang get pancaked against the wall, but no, Bochi lives? What?
She can't keep getting away.
No! No way! Oh, she can't get away with it. I mean, look, now the Reinhardt's alive, moving away through the Annihilation. Yeah, the space is gonna be bought, but you just let her get away with a murder with zero consequences whatsoever, and she's just gonna go ahead and do it again. There goes Feather, splat against the wall. Another charge off the map. Do not let Mochi anywhere near this Reinhardt because it spells disaster for Ragnarok Odin. Yeah, they got 9 seconds left on this clock to keep it moving. It needs to be an overtime push here at CB, and they don't have nuclear to do it.
Yeah, they did manage to take out Kita, so they don't have to worry about the Widow flicking at them from the high ground. They do have to worry about Nijika coming in from the top rope, and Bochi coming straight in with a nano boost and a shatter. They had the sound barrier to match it, though. Everyone's still alive, and Bochi is looking a little bit worse for wear, as is Rio here. Ragnarok Odin, they might have done just enough to keep this going.
Yeah, they did. They do enough, though. They're fighting on the outskirts of the map. The respawns are so close that there's definitely going to be another fight taken here. Somehow Najika is going to manage to live to see another day, but Kessoku Band, no way! CB! Again! What? How has this happened for a second time in a row? And that one is worse than the first. This match point is going over to Kessoku Band in a point that they really needed to fight
twice on this map too. We go back to Kessoku Band's attack where they could have, tried to contest the first point, but they just don't. What is the issue here? Because we went back to Gardens and we pointed to that one overcommitment of ultimates, and like that was pretty bad, but that's not something that, that's something that you can easily just identify and be like, okay, we don't do that again. And we've seen them improve on that. They haven't made that same level of overcommitment, but somehow it's like programming. Like they fixed one bug and now 6 more have cropped up, where it's like their ult economy is near flawless now, but it's like, like you're forgetting the most basic of things. Like you have to play the point. They had every advantage there. They could have kept it going. And now, Kessoku Band, they're on match point. They're ready to play the swan song for Ragnarok Odin, take a stage dive, and hang out with the groupies. They've got this one on lock, unless Ragnarok Odin come out with something big here on our push map.
It's not even that they're making a bunch of small mistakes, CB. It's these colossal ones that are screwing them over in the latter half of these rounds. I mean, things like that. Those are so devastating to have to go in and work with. And now, it's match point. Ragnarok Odin, they need to win 4 maps in a row. 4. You know how hard that is to do? That is darn near impossible for any team to keep up, especially when you're already down 3 and going to push for the next map, or Kessoku's comp is just going to run wild.
Winning 4 maps in a row, that's pretty difficult. But right now, Kessoku Band are making it look pretty easy because they only got 1 more to do. It looks like, I think, if the lobby is to be believed, it looks like it should be Colosseo, which again is Ragnarok's Odin map pick here. They're also swapping Demos out for 7, so might be going back to something a little bit more traditional as far as the tank composition goes, and that might. I hate to say it, but that might actually favor them, because Demos had some fantastic plays on the Doomfist, and it did have some really strong showing on the Sigma there at times, but they just kind of got outskilled and outcomped by the DPS line of Kessoku Band. So, if that trend keeps up, I mean, is there a tank in the world that can counteract a DPS gap this vast?
That is the question. I mean, I don't want to say it, but sometimes there is just a skill gap there. And the skill gap has been in favor of the band. I mean, Ragnarok Odin, they're trying their best. I think that they're more coordinated by any means. And they're more coordinated when they're working as a team. Now, when it comes to actually being able to stay on the map, that could be argued otherwise. And I think that that's the issue here, is that it's not that Ragnarok Odin, they're not playing together, but they're just getting gapped in areas that it's difficult to control. You need to close those gaps in one way or another. Stop taking these 1v1s that you're not going to win. And unfortunately, this map type isn't in their favor. Push forces that kind of playstyle, CB, and this is probably the best that Kessoku could have asked for heading into a 4th map and on match point.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick look at the replay here and watch as Ragnarok Odin again trips over their own shoelaces here somehow towards the tail end of Havana here. I mean, we might just be doing them dirty by showing this, but Anonymous, feet firmly planted on the point. Demos, firmly planted on the point. Both of them just say, nope.
No.
Yeah, both of them just like, I got better things to do than to contest this cart. Surely the rest of my team will handle this one. Anonymous gets actually really low. I'm wondering if he dies. No, he just takes cover. And Demos goes to Demos I will avenge you for this transgression. And no one touches. And whoops. Yeah, you can practically see it in Demos' face when that Ramatra turns right around, just like, whoops, I forgot something.
Ooh.
That was pretty rough. That was egregious, I have to say. And again, you can't, that's Overwatch 101. Ragnarok Odin, you just can't be making mistakes like that. That is not what's going to get you the dub here. That's assuredly not how you got to the grand finals here. You have to try and find what brought you to the dance, what helped you turn the tides against some of these teams that you were dropping maps against before, what helped you make that strong lower bracket run, because right now, Kessoku Band is just running away with it, and meanwhile, Ragnarok Odin is just running away from the point.
They're running from the one thing that's gonna help them, CB. I don't know if they're not helping themselves. What do they do? The direction that this series has taken, this is far what I expected after I logged on to this match tonight, and it's match point now. Kessoku, they're on the brink of getting a full sweep here, taking the title of the champions of one of the highest ranked tiers that is offered here on CGL, and they're proving that even if they're playing chaos, even if they're uncoordinated in several ways, it works out for the best. They take these aggressive angles nobody else would dare to do. And Ragnarok Odin, they simply do not know how to react. They've been thrown for a loop. This is far from the traditional Overwatch competition we are used to seeing. It's peak entertainment nonetheless.
It's very entertaining, and again, I think the key to victory, so I can reuse my pun here, is again going to be trying to shut down Kita, but now, like, things that I shouldn't have to say is, like, don't invest 5 ultimates into a fight that you aren't going to win, or that when you know you're going to need them for the next fight. Don't get off of the point when it's in overtime and the wick's going to burn and you're going to just lose the match there. You know, small basic things. If a Widowmaker is in your spawn, you should kill her. That's just that's just another one. You can have that for free. Like, you know, I shouldn't have to, like, say these kinds of things to a team and be like, this is what you have to do to win the match. Like, shutting down Kita, and now also, shutting down Rio, because Rio has also been pounding time and time again here. That should be your win condition for this right here, because if you ask me, they do have an advantage in the tank matchup here. I've seen, you know, I've liked what I've seen out of Seven and out of Demos more than what I've seen out of Bauchi, except for when Bauchi is playing the Reinhardt. She's been phenomenal on the Reinhardt, and also, you know, pretty solid on the Wrecking Ball as well, but less so on the Doomfist here. So forcing them to play off meta and just playing your game could behoove you.
And they've changed up the meta so many times, though. That's when I do begin to question, is we've gone from Brawl. They didn't do well in the Brawl. We tried to transition to a Dive/Doomfist. Didn't win that one out. They went to a poke comp, CB, and they still got beat. In that regard, you're on your last leg here of selection, and Coliseo, when you think about the competitions that we called out here, I wouldn't be shocked if we see a Reinhardt. I'm not going to be shocked if we see a Wrecking Ball. And both of these heroes haven't looked awful for Kessoku band. And you said that Ragnarok Odin, that they got the tank presence. They have the ability to succeed. They just need to put all these pieces together and make it come out big. And they're going to have a little bit more time to do that, as we are going to head to a quick break. Make sure everybody's prepared for a grand finals match. Don't go anywhere. The series will continue shortly.
Memories. Memories.
Inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
This is your CGL NAPC GM Grand Finals match. Wow, that was a mouthful, but it was totally worth it to set the stage for map number 4, where our team, Kessoku Band, is on match point, heading into Colosseo. It is all up to Ragnarok Odin now to flip a new leaf here and find their rhythm once again, because this could be the end of their season right here, and going down 4-0 is never a good feeling.
Yeah, it's never over until the fat lady sings, but she might not be singing just yet, but the band is striking themselves up, and that band is Kessoku Band, who have been just running away with this from the get-go. They haven't conceded a point on Control. They gave up a couple on Hollywood and Havana there, but, Ragnarok Odin, they just keep, digging their own graves time and time again. They keep tripping over their own shoelaces, dropping their spaghetti and slipping on it. This is the grand finals. You have to kind of shape that up. You have to get serious. You have to be able to close it out here, or you're going to get packed up and shipped away by this Kessoku Band squad, who seems to be able to just get away with whatever it is that they want. They look really strong, really mechanically gifted across all their players. They kind of, you almost feel like they deserve to have the championship, but this is Ragnarok Odin's chance to say otherwise, to take that from them, but it has to start now, and it has to be a reverse sweep. It's a tall mountain to climb, but, you don't really have much other choice.
Yep, now or never, Ragnarok Odin, you are not going to get another chance after this map if you're not able to dish up a victory right here and right now. Coming out of the gates here, map number 4. Will this be the end of Ragnarok Odin and Kessoku Band come out on top, or will we be heading out to a longer map 5 series? We're going to go ahead and find out here shortly, because these teams, they're ready to roll.
And we called it out before the break. That swap out Demos for 7 definitely meant that they wanted to switch back to this tried and true rush comp with the Mei, with the Hanzo, with the Rhine. And that's where they've looked their best so far. Kessoku Band is, again, still kind of just playing mystery heroes, doing whatever they want, playing whatever notes they see fit, just kind of freestyling it right now. They can still isolate either the Sojourn or the Orisa and try and burn them down with a Mei wall, can Ragnarok Odin. So that's going to be their win condition going forward, especially here in the neutral.
Have to be able to get this one to a close fight, because Kido and Rio here, they're playing that long-range game. They are poking in and out, looking for these long eliminations just because the amount of burst damage that they have. Ragnarok Odin, they're winning the fight for the robot. Bochi isn't able to withstand themselves just because they're risk. You don't got a big old shield anymore, and you're walking into a rectangle, man, and Seven's just going to lock down this corner. It's chunking a bunch of damage down, and we're entering a notorious long Coliseo neutral fight where these can seemingly go on forever without a final blow coming through. But as I say it, down goes Feather. Ragnarok Odin, they lost their mobility, lost their speed, but firing right back onto Najika. Bochi is going to take the time to push on up onto an Antid 7 who's struggling to get healed. Immortality Field popped out. We'll be able to save them, but the Nano Boost certainly saves Kita in this battle. Amazing how quick Guitar Hero built that up, and it's going to be a major first win for Kessoku Band.
That's just a quick little 101 for how to, dismantle a rush comp. Watch as the wheels fall off the bus. It's that opening pickoff onto Feather. You lose your speed. You lose your ability to reposition. Then your Mei goes down next. You lose your ability to section people off, isolate, and pick off targets. All the focus and your mobility is all completely out of whack. You can't get anything done, and Kessoku Band can just reap the rewards while they stay at full 6. Ragnarok Odin, though, they did do enough work to have a rather competitive ult bank here, so they're not out of the fight just yet. They do have control of the bot here currently, but Kessoku Band can decide to clap back and come in with this duplicate if that's their wish.
Oh, they can wish for a duplicate. They can wish for an overclock here. I mean, the fact that they gave up the objective, yeah, they're going to give up some space, but the positioning will be better, but not if you don't have Kita to help hold in the spot you tried to move in. So this is really backfiring on the Band team at this time. Ragnarok Odin, they've gotten that major player out of the sky, so they want to move up, push that advantage. You can see Nuclear off on this little side angle here, just chunking these arrows into the Orisa, attempting to take control of the high ground, and this is granted so much space off of just one elimination, but now Kita's returned to the fight, and immediately Duplicate is down. Huge Immortality Field to keep it going, but that's not going to do you much good against all 3 of the Ragnarok damage. Ultimates this, no, that Dragon Strike nasty into an Earth Shatter. Yep, Ragnarok Odin, you give him the room to work, suddenly they're finding that success.
This is looking so much better for Ragnarok Odin, but they do invest quite heavily to try and make that happen. It gets them the lead, and it's going to inch them ever closer to that checkpoint here. They need to continue to find value with the headshots, with the arrows, and with the icicles onto Kita and to Rio specifically. Trying to burst down an Orisa with a Baptiste and an Ana, that's a fool's errand. You're never going to chunk through that much HP. But Kita, look how low she is currently. Another headshot or another quick stray shot from an icicle could easily put this fight to bed for Ragnarok Odin.
But it's getting put to bed for them because Rio's got an overclock and a triple kill on the high ground. This player is stellar. She just pops off at all the right moments. Rio is becoming the hero for Kessoku Band.
We're now kind of back to a neutral, though, because Kessoku Band also invested kind of heavily in that one. They used the overclock and the nano, and that was really all they had to bring themselves to the dance, whereas Ragnarok Odin, the only thing they can kind of look at ult-wise is that Dragon Strike, and that's not much. That's only a bit of zoning. That's only a bit of positioning, so we have to try and look for another headshot. And I think our Anonymous knows that she's going to find it, or that he's going to find it a little bit more easily if they swap over onto the Cassidy off of the Mei, because this is a real squirrely comp from Kessoku Band. Very difficult to pin down and isolate with a wall.
Yeah, I know you're not able to do so, but I mean, with they're punishing Kita. Finally, CB, this is one of the things we said that they needed to do, and suddenly that echo is gone. That threat is no longer an issue. So Ragnarok Odin, they're just gonna go ahead and push that bot right up, and once they get that first elimination, they turn it into another and another. This is a much better look from the blue team, and I think it's to do largely with 7 coming back in, being the spearhead to the squad on this Reinhardt, continuing to push that advantage, gaining the space back for their squad. Problem is, how are they going to continue from here? You got both DPS ultimates in the battle, but now everyone from Kessoku Band has regrouped. Now it's just a waiting game to find who will strike first.
Yeah, it's been Nuclear and it's been Anonymous a lot in the past, and they still have that momentum, but that window from Nijika is definitely going to turn the tides in favor of Kessoku Band, force a little bit of positioning. Here comes Anonymous with the Deadeye, but it's going to be responded with a Terror Surge from Bouchy. Only finds a mouthful of that Immortality Field, but Anonymous does get cleaned up there by Ryo, and now the sound barrier to try and hold things together, but it's all falling apart. 7 with a sliver of HP. They can't quite take him down. They do finally do just that, and Kessoku Band, they should be able to close this one out here as they have the man advantage, and it just keeps going in their way.
But they used a duplicate here at the tail end of the fight, CB. I mean, that's one you really wanted to hold on to here, especially with how close these teams are in terms of the distance.
That feels kind of like greed from Kita, because I think Kessoku Band as a whole just know that they can get away with things like that, but hopefully that greed doesn't come back to bite them, because like you said, they don't really have a whole lot else. They're going to be going into a window and a shatter from Ragnarok Odin, and that could be enough to get the bot going back in their favor again.
Now they're the ones that are fighting for that control. I mean, that, got a duplicate. Down goes Kita. That's like the third time in a row that Ragnarok Odin have gotten the Echo out first, and they're going to continue to just push up off the bat. 3 players on their blacks. I mean, Narissa, Fortified Yat saves yourself, but nobody else. 7 swinging away. If there was a 7K, I'm sure it would have been possible there.
Absolutely. It's a phenomenal shatter and a great block by Bauchi, but the follow-up for Ragnarok Odin was just too much. Melts right through the immortality field, melts right through everyone's health bar, and yeah, the bot is now most likely going to touch that checkpoint here and maybe get that butt scratch going for Ragnarok Odin, which is absolutely massive in push maps here. And Kessoku Band, they're coming up on ults to try and stop it. They're going to try and go aggressive to make sure that does not happen.
They got the last touch, and now goes the Baptiste. That's the main source of healing Ragnarok Odin. They're not going to be able to survive long if they don't close this out quickly. There's the pin in. Bocchi right into a pulse bomb. Great play for Ragnarok Odin. They got the checkpoint. Even if they lose this out here, it is already a 1 situation. Those spawn advantages are going to set them up amazing for the future fights.
And look at this. They know that they've lost a couple of people, and they don't want to keep this one going. They're just going to concede the bot and back up, take a more favorable fight on neutral ground where they continue to thrive here. Maybe force a couple ults out of Kessoku Band. This is phenomenal positioning and great play from Ragnarok Odin. This is what we need to see from them if they're going to start this reverse sweep going right now.
This is 1 step in the right direction. They're going to need several more in order to pull it through. The Reinhardt's been cut off. 7 needs to be able to survive here, but pulled right back in. Bocchi not making their job easy whatsoever. 7 resources committed. Ryo coming up with 2 on the back. Make it a 3rd. This is Kessoku Band. They're finding their rhythm once again, playing to the beat of their own drum. Yeah, they've turned it around, but Kessoku Band, they have got to defeat Ragnarok Odin these spawns.
They might have banged their drum just a little bit too loud there, though, because, again, we're looking at them investing 2 ultimates, whereas it was completely dry from Ragnarok Odin, and they're coming up on 2 big ones. They swung the fight with the Earth Shatter before. 7 can do it again. Keep your eye on him, and if Kessoku Band clap back with anything, Feather's going to be your man with that sound barrier.
This is Ragnarok Odin's fight right here, right now. That Earth Shatter and sound barrier alone. That is going to be the definition of how the remainder minute and 24 seconds is going to go. And Kita goes down again. How many times this has happened, CB? How many flippin' times? Because this is just Ragnarok Odin finding that pickoff. They don't even need to use anything right now. You cannot have asked for a better win condition.
Yeah, again, if they just keep shutting down Kita, especially now that Kita is playing on the Echo and the rest of Kessoku Band's comp is so discordant right now that, yeah, just 1 quick pickoff and you win the neutral there. They're going to invest the Dragon Strike for a little bit of positioning, and that might have been a little bit greedy. It does get them some favorable positioning, but now they have to back off as they've lost our Anonymous.
And now they'd have to play into these high grounds too, but it doesn't matter because 7 laid down the Earth Shatter, picks up 2. Exactly what Ragnarok Odin had to do in this situation. They're going to get those forward spawns back, CB, plus a little bit of ground to deal with. Kessoku's Band, the possibility of turning this around is becoming lower and lower by the second.
Yeah, look at the ult bank that Ragnarok Odin has held onto. They've still got that sound barrier, and that's going to be enough to keep them in any fight that they need to, but 7 is very low. Might need it right now. It doesn't come through. Rio kills 7, and suddenly it's flipped back in Kessoku Band's favor.
Kessoku Band, they've been given an opportunity. Ragnarok Odin, they let your guard down a little bit too soon because Kessoku Band, they're going to have another shot about closing this fight out. Ragnarok, this is going to be a fight of a lifetime. All that needs to happen here, blue team, win 1 engagement, and it is their map.
If it happens the same way it's been happening time and time again, if Kita falls early to a stray arrow from Nuclear, or if our Anonymous is able to find an early pickoff with this Pulse Bomb, Ragnarok Odin can put this whole fight to bed and finally get themselves on the board. They need something. Dueling Windows come out, and we actually see a little bit of a trade out.
A little bit of a trade out, but that Baptiste pick is massive. It has to be the sound barrier here from Feather. Wanted to hold that in a little longer, but you're not going to have the opportunity. Kessoku Band, they've got the ultimates and the tools. They've had to use all of them, though, CB. They won this 1 engagement, but they're going to need at least 2 or 3 more to get a full map.
Meanwhile, 7 is coming up on that Earth Shatter again. That can put this whole thing to bed right now. This is Ragnarok's Odin fight to win, and it comes down once again to that Hammer of Mjolnir. 7 has to be the one to break it, to break ground, slam it down, make a big splash here, and put Kessoku Band to bed finally. Get some momentum, but they've lost our Anonymous already.
Oh no! That's the second time that they've lost our Anonymous. We're returning to this staggered out trade. There's the hammer laid down from the heavens. 7 managed to pick this up. Nuclear on the follow-up. There are the arrows landing. They're Rockets hitting their shots. Kessoku banned. We're going to have to take this one to a map 5 because Ragnarok Odin, they're not done yet.
This is exactly what I want to see from Ragnarok Odin, but now is the hard part. They got that first one on the board, which I guess, sorry, that was the hard part, but now you have to keep it up. You have to stay this consistent. I want to see this coming out from Ragnarok Odin the rest of the way. I want to see them force Kessoku to get serious. I want to see this get scrappy. I want to see it get more and more bloody. Force them to play something a little bit more resembling a meta. Force them to play something that you can just beat them on. No more of this, like, letting Kita run away with the show. No more of this, letting them just have their way with you. Just, play 7, play something a little bit more meta, and just get the picks that you need. Phenomenal play. Like, no notes from Ragnarok Odin. For once, no notes.
For once, they did it. They've passed the CB Tiny Shiny test. We don't have anything to write down about you. Problem is now, you need to do that for the next 3 maps in a row if you're gonna win this one out. They did one thing right here, and that was get Kita out of the picture. First, 4 fights in a row that they won was because Kita was down. You keep doing that, this could very well keep going down the distance here. We are heading back to control, which is very similar to push in the idea of you're clashing head-on in a mirror-sided map. However, that's going to be much more difficult to dispose of Kita, and especially assuming we're going to get this Reinhardt back into the picture. While the Orisa didn't look bad, it's just been the strength to see Bochi onto this Reinhardt, where you're able to brawl it out, especially since the map pick is in the control of Kessoku bands. I mean, CB, this is going to be an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, and I think because it's Kessoku Band's map pick, if they want to play this smart, which honestly, I don't know if they do, they might just want to play this for kicks, it's like they have been the whole time, but if they want to play this smart, they want to try and take it to a control map where that rush comp is not favored, and I gotta say that, like, Ilios might be the way to go. Because you don't want to let 7 get away with running that Reinhardt, maybe force them to try that dive on for size again, the one that they showed up with on Lijiang Tower. Because if you go to a Nepal, if you go to an Antarctic Peninsula, you're going to likely see that Reinhardt comp come out again, and you have to try and best them on that. And it looks like Kessoku Band, they want to keep playing this for kicks, because why don't you go ahead and tell us what their choice has been?
Well, we said that maybe the pace we just saw wasn't the way to go. The first map they've lost, and it looks like they want to continue running into the 7 Reinhardt. They're practically asking for it with a pick on Nepal. With the exception of Sanctum, this is Reinhardt's playground. And nonetheless, I do want to argue a counterpoint here, is that Kessoku Band, Nepal is arguably the most similar to Lijiang Tower in a lot of ways, just because of the fact that you're going to have the central point that you're going to fight on, a lot of structure where these Symmetras are going to be strong, where these brawl, these close-up plays are going to be strong, and then, of course, bringing out something different here on Sanctum as you would on Gardens. Now, they need to play their cards correctly with this map pick. There's got to be something up their sleeve for picking this one, because with what you were talking about, CB, there is no logical reason to go this route.
Whatever it's going to be, it's gonna have to happen on Sanctum, because like you said, you called that one out. That is the outlier in these 2 maps. You have Village, which things get kind of silly and kind of weird with the way the point is positioned, but it's still silly and weird in a way that typically favors different types of rush comps. And Shrine is just one of the most neutral control points in the entire game, where it's literally just upstairs and there it is for everyone to see. You get a little tiny minor high ground advantage when you have it, and you can use that to maximize value out of your positioning with your DPS. It's another one that Rush is going to be quite strong on. So if that's what Ragnarok Odin want to continue to play with, they can definitely do so comfortably on this map. But it looks like Kessoku Band has been listening to a little bit too much Missy Elliott, because they have put that thing down, flipped it, and reversed it. Now they're the ones flashing a Reinhardt currently, and Ragnarok Odin are going back to the dive.
You know what? I'm intrigued by this. Ragnarok Odin, though, last couple times they've tried to play this, it has not worked out, because they've been split up by whatever chaos is happening, and whenever there's chaos, there is a Pharah involved, and in this case, it's going to be Rio. There's no direct counter to this Europe whatsoever. I mean, maybe you're sticking Discord, maybe you get a hack, but other than that, this Pharah is going to be flying high in the sky out of anybody's reach. So that's Kessoku's band. That's their win condition right now. But look at that hack out of the Mercy. Wanted to get at Focus Fire in, but Nijika will live to see another day, and 7 will not. Burned down almost immediately with this point control unlocked and a Symmetra in the field. This is going to be a great way to start, but Ryo actually ended up taking a close-up 1v1 with Anonymous. I do question that pick a little bit, but you know what? You've got Bocce. I'm not worried.
Ragnarok Odin, they understand the assignment when you're going up against a pharmacy comp, but I don't know if they've done all of their homework because they aren't able to collapse onto Nijika quickly enough after that hack there, and Anonymous actually gonna get blocked by Nijika there. Yeah, you kind of deserve it. You died to a Mercy, you kind of deserve that one, Anonymous.
Yeah.
Keskoban, they're gonna take first point positioning here, and if they're not able to kill Nijika, you're not gonna be able to clip Ryo's wings.
No, that's why we saw the hack go on to Nijika first, and I give Anonymous credit for doing that. A lot of Sombra players don't always think that through, so we know their experience in that field. However, we need to see a little bit more coordination between the rest of the players. It can't just be Anonymous going on these solo missions. It's not going to get you anywhere because the Sombra is just going to keep dying and getting punished for these mistakes. I mean, this DPS comp, it just gets bowled over. I mean, it should be the other way around because it's 7, but no, they're going to get bowled over trying to contest this objective with a Symmetra and a Pharah locking it down.
Yeah, you could talk about Anonymous being on all these solo missions. Pack it up, Agent. It's time to come back to HQ because these missions are not panning out. They've all been catastrophic failures. Anonymous is still so far from that EMP. Likely won't get it until this point gets into that 90% threshold here. And might not even get a chance because they keep losing members every single time Ragnarok Odin tries to poke their heads out here. Keskoban just have all the positioning and Ragnarok Odin have just no angles to play from currently.
Yeah, and I think Bochi's getting a little antsy here. Hasn't smacked anything in a while, and that is really bothering her. The Reinhardt should not be this far up. Do not take this as a legitimate tips video, ladies and gentlemen. Do not, because this is a Reinhardt that will get punished if it's not careful. I mean, Kessoku banned, the point's finally being contested, but Rio has yet to do so. Feather's gone down, the Ana zoned out. That is going to be a wipe off on the objective. The minefield is going to be present. Still managed to pick up 3. Okay, Ragnarok Odin, I see you. But can they clean it up?
That was a,
the answer
that
is
was a
Anonymous
headshot.
will
That
not
was a
be doing
headshot
that.
with the Earth Shatter.
That was seriously slammed straight down. I haven't seen a more pancaked Earth Shatter in my entire Overwatch casting career. That was just straight up personal against Anonymous here. It had to be if you wanted to turn it around. Bochi's barely hanging on to life in this back corner, but it was so much time for Kessoku to get the regroup here. CB, they're one step closer to winning this grand finals match out.
And what a way to do it by just bonking Anonymous over the head, sending that Sombra to H-word jail. Like, what even do you do? What even do you do when you're getting diff that hard that a Reinhardt is able to hit you with Earth Shatter headshots to close things out? I'll tell you what you do. You swap off of that Wrecking Ball Sombra comp because you're not getting enough value out of it. Go back to this. I like this. I like this Ramatra comp.
Yeah.
I like Anonymous on the Mace so much more than I like him on the Sombra. I want to see them keep this up. And on Sanctum, you know, this pharmacy is still going to be a pest, something that you have to deal with. But, I mean, because of the ceiling, because of the space that you'll have to play with, you should be able to get a little bit more value out of this.
And there is the idea, too, that you could just ignore the pharmacy, take the ground fight, but, you know, there's actually not a pharmacy to be concerned about anymore. Nijika is still on the Mercy, which I find interesting, and that might bite them in the butt later because Ragnarok Odin, they've got a wall up behind Bochi. She is not happy about that one, has to run back to their team, and suddenly they're getting the ones getting pressure down into this corner. 7 is violent punch after punch, but the backline pressure is there regardless with Rio on the Genji, who actually is on the Genji this time, everybody. Do not doubt that for a second. There is a Genji for Rio on the field. And Ragnarok Odin, when they started off well, the positioning was great. It's falling apart because the DPS remain uncontested, CB. Bochi can continue to be a punching bag. She could care less because the Genji is free to run rampant.
Yeah, I mean, Keskoban, they're still just able to just go into the backline and pick people apart. Specifically, it's Rio just having her way with whoever she decides to take a duel with. And you know, Ragnarok Odin, they look a lot more coordinated on this, but they're kind of too far focused on what's in front of them and not really worried about what's behind them. When it's what's behind them, Rio, that is constantly biting them in the butt. They're going to have a Blizzard coming into this next fight. They do have that advantage going for them, but they're walking right into Keskoban's hand.
Kessoku Band, they're sitting here, they're waiting. I mean, Ragnarok Odin, they don't have a good way to get in. They gotta take the long approach here. You can't go for these walls. Bochi has been healed up anytime he's been placed. So Ragnarok Odin, they've got to find the positioning here, and they're actually kind of split up for themselves. A rare time we see this happen. Suddenly, Anonymous is off in La La Land with the wind condition. That Blizzard needs to be the one to turn this around, but there's no option. Immediately choked out. Nice identification of the separation and collapse on top. Another engagement won. Ragnarok Odin, they still have to go back to the drawing board and come back with something quickly because the pieces, their team is falling apart.
Yeah, when I called out that the Blizzard was their win condition, that was with the caveat that they were able to find an advantageous position to use it from, but I can guarantee you that advantageous position was not way out there on the side, on the edges of the map here. They might be able to get themselves an advantageous position thanks to Seven investing that Annihilation. That should be enough to get them through the choke point here.
I mean, you say that, but anytime Bochi's gone down, there's still a chance to come back. Always is when there's a Dragon Blade, but there's a little too far away. Nuclear jumping out of the way. Traded out relatively even. Ragnarok, they're still up by one player if they can keep this one running, but the problem is their Amantra 7's off the map! This is last fight territory, CB. The point is being contested, but the May Wall are going to prevent them from getting here. A critical flip coming through just to buy enough time to allow these players back for one more shot.
I do not agree with Seven being that far up and trying to take that duel with Bauchi. I think they definitely should have been trying to play the point there, get the faster cap and force the point, or force the fight to happen on the point while they had the man advantage, because now they don't really have a whole lot of advantage. They have the ult advantage, but will they be able to find the position to use them? That is the question. Seven is going to have to switch the ball, get the touch, but Nuclear is already down, and had that overclock, is not going to get a chance to use it.
No, this is the final fight. The grand finals can be decided right here, right now. Anonymous needs to come up big. Buy time for Nuclear to return to the fight with that overclock and hope they can go absolutely wild, because right now that's the hope that they are holding on to. Kessoku Band, yeah, they've been split. They're battered and beaten, but Ryu still has a full health bar. Guitar Hero in the backline getting the damage boost. Kessoku Band, they are just about to do it, but the point got flipped over. They got to hold on a little bit longer. The overclock is there. Nuclear gets the mercy! Is this the hero play that's needed? Yeah, it gets one, but who's left to contest the objective? Ragnarok Odin, they are too far gone, down to the underworld. The Wrecking Ball swings in from the heavens above to keep them alive in this series, but the pieces, they've fallen over. The tower, the empire, has crumbled down to mere ash as Kessoku Band, they are going to be your NAGM tier champions.
And a little stage dive there from Bauchi to help seal it there. Kessoku Band, they hit all the right notes. They play the high notes. They just played. I mean, they played whatever they really wanted to and just got away with it because they are just that damn good. That very deserving of the title here of our champions. They deserve it. Just again, off of the sheer skill that we saw from time and time again, out of Rio and out of Kita alone, but that's not even to diminish the role that Guitar Hero, Nijika, and Bauchi played in this band. They all know their instruments so well, instruments of destruction. Ragnarok has come, and Ragnarok Odin is going to fall after a great showing by them on Colosseo that almost started to reel things back. Kessoku Band, they didn't miss a step, they didn't miss a beat, they just went right back to playing their game on Nepal, their map pick, and Ragnarok Odin, there was just nothing they could do. The Kessoku Band just too good on their map pick. What do you even say? And
you really have a lot of points here, CB. I mean, it came down to a bit of a skill diff in the end of this matchup. There was just some individual players that were outskilling those on Ragnarok Odin, and Kessoku Band, they didn't even need to play together as a cohesive unit in order for this to happen. They just did whatever they wanted to do, and Ragnarok Odin, they were playing a serious game of Overwatch. They had these 5 players, they're on one hive mind, trying to get this one to happen, but the sheer chaos and shenanigans that this band threw at him, how do you react? I mean, who scrims against this team? I mean, this is something you don't practice for, you don't prepare for, and that is a huge part of the reason, if not all of it, why Kessoku Band made it through this point in this season, and they are your grand finals champions.
Yeah, it was quite a concert, and they showed their skill, they showed why they are here, they showed how they were able to get here. This is your lineup, these are your champions, these are the musicians that just played you that grand rhapsody that brought it home for them. Kita, Rio, Bauchi, Nijika, and Guitar Hero bringing it up on the guitar here. almost, almost slipped up there, bringing it up on the guitar. Sometimes the band metaphors, they intersect a little bit too much with the things that I would normally say, but what a phenomenal team this is. A real dominant force in our GM tier here in CGL. Love to see it. I can't wait to see what they do next. I can't wait to see who wants to have a little, Devil Went Down to Georgia fiddle battle with this squad here, because there is something there. This team doesn't look unbeatable, but today they are indeed unbeatable.
Yep, they certainly showed it, and they will be your NAPC GM Grand Champions of the CGL Multi-Tier Season 11, and wow, that is a mouthful of a title, but they get the bragging rights for taking down some of the best teams in the PC division. I mean, there's a lot of strict competitors in this. I mean, you just see the top 4 right here. Kinetics themselves, they've been in the CGL community for countless seasons, long before I was even here, and they've transitioned over to that PC role. They managed to stay at the top. You've got Bonkers as well. Yeah, they ended up going down pretty early, but regardless of that, these are some of the best of the best, CB. I mean, Kessoku Band, they showed, they won the battle of the bands today, realistically. I gotta get on the band wordplay, alright? You're making me feel a little left out here. Hey, we enjoy it while it lasts.
If there's one thing that you can take away from this bracket as it pertains to Ragnarok Odin, though, it's that when they hit their stride, they can be a dangerous team. They can take maps off the best. They can, reverse their fortunes a little bit like we saw them do against Bonkers here, but it just wasn't enough. There just wasn't enough consistency up against Kessoku Band here. We saw not just a flash of brilliance, but like a nuclear bomb of brilliance on Colosseo, but it just was not there on the other points, and Kessoku Band just felt uncontested a large portion of the time, and that just kind of happens when you have that high level of skill players on your team, that you can just bully the enemy team. You can spawn camp as Widow and get away with it. And what else is there to say about Ragnarok Odin and the mistakes they made? Mistakes that can easily be cleaned up, and again, if they get more consistent, will continue to be a threat, but we can't talk too much about them. We have to keep it about our champions, Kessoku Band. Check them out on Spotify, because they're about to blow up.
And it has come time, CB, for us to pick the MVP of the day. And I think we saw some varying consistency between some players. I mean, at the very beginning of the series, it was Kita just coming up big, making these clutch plays. But as we moved towards the end, Kaio came into the spotlight and absolutely stole it away. And it's really hard to pick between both of them, to be totally honest with you, this series. And I'm honestly leaning a bit more towards Kaio, just because of the pure dominance they showed on the far, the ability to make these swaps and be incredibly well-rounded across all maps of Overwatch, and a huge part of the reason that skill diff really came into play.
I'm also kind of tempted to go for Rio, but I think my heart is still telling me Kita, because of those hero plays on Hollywood and a couple of hero plays that we saw on Lijiang and throughout the series. It looked pretty shaky on Colosseo for Kita, but to be honest, it looked kind of shaky for the entirety of Kessoku Band. That was like the one misstep that they had throughout this entire series. So I think I'm willing to give them a pass and say that Kita, in my heart at least, is my MVP.
We have 2 MVPs. I mean, honestly, there isn't really too much of a... this DPS duo really outshone the rest of their team today. I mean, that's saying something, because Basu did some incredible stuff. Both of these supports were on point. I mean, a lot of the things that these DPS were doing should not have happened, but these supports were available, regardless if they were way off in who knows where in the enemy's spawn, as I'm getting flashbacks to Havana. I'll be seeing that one for a while in my nightmares. I'll always be second-guessing where the opponents are actually set to go, but... And speaking of that, I think it is time for us to go ahead and wrap up the stream for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting the GM champions. Will be Kessoku Band. Congratulations to them once again. A couple shout-outs to make. Behind the scenes here, we have MI Blizzard on production, pushing all the buttons, making us look pretty cool up here. And, of course, Lottie, the lovely observer, who's giving us all these beautiful POVs, these pop-off moments that you would all like to see. It's been Tiny Shiny and CB here with you this evening. We wish you a great rest of your night, and we hope to see you later on for some more CGL Grand Finals action.
Break.